Hey, I'm Mr. Levin, and let's highlight the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment protects the right of American citizens to own firearms. This amendment is probably the most controversial amendment in the Bill of Rights. It is subject to intense debate and almost constantly around the country, and support for or opposition against the Second Amendment can almost be directly tied to a person's support for a political ideology or a political party. The Second Amendment was added to the Constitution by James Madison, who saw a strong state militia as a way to provide the citizens the power to defend themselves and protect their liberties when threatened by the abuse of power. Having just defeated the British with state militias and an ill-equipped, far less experienced army, the founders considered this amendment as a way to safeguard the means by which American citizens could fight a tyrannical federal government. In more modern times, arguments over the interpretation of the amendment fall on the sides of collective rights versus individual rights. And in the wake of growing gun violence and mass shootings in America, this debate has come to the forefront. Some Americans believe that the individual's rights to own a gun is paramount, and the violence we see in society is simply a price that must be paid to maintain the freedom to bear arms. Others believe that the collective rights to live in a society free of gun violence should take precedence over the individual's rights to own a weapon guaranteed by the Second Amendment. And more must be done to regulate weapons to prevent them from getting in the hands of dangerous individuals. It is important to note that there is compromise on both sides of the debate, and it is important in a conversation about guns. As in any national conversation, there are those with extreme views and those who believe compromise is possible with a more moderate approach. For example, the National Rifle Association has argued that the Second Amendment gives every citizen the right to own a gun, and gun ownership should be absolute and free from any regulation whatsoever, whereas some groups would like to ban all guns without exception. However, there's a large fraction of Americans who believe that common sense gun control can successfully limit gun violence and also protect the right to bear arms. Groups like the Brady Campaign believe it's possible to limit who can get a gun with strict background checks and also responsible gun owners to keep their weapons. While it may seem at times that there are people who believe the extreme views of gun ownership or gun bans, these groups are a smaller fraction than the number of people who believe there should be certain limitations to gun ownership. The debate over gun ownership is one that will inevitably continue long into the future, so it is important to understand why it became such an important part of American life. Thank you so much for watching, and that's the Second Amendment, and this has been your History Highlight.